disturbing horror stories. This happened last year, and me and my friends had the bright idea to get fucked up on a Wednesday, so we got some weed and beers. There's a railway near our dorm, and it was the place to go to smoke, drink, etc. It was really cold, so two of my friends already had started drinking to warm themselves up. Just on the way there, I was having a weird feeling like we shouldn't be there. I disregarded the feeling to just me trying weed for the first time. We eventually got there, sat on the rocks that were there, and we started drinking and passing the joint around. After 10-ish minutes, I heard a twig snap. I asked my friend, but none of them heard it. My one friend, who was the closest to me, said, "You probably imagined it. When you get high, you get hella paranoid." I accepted it because I've heard it's normal. After a couple more minutes, I heard some shuffling in the bushes. Think of small trail path and there being a circular area with big rocks and the rest of it being bushes and trees. If you looked at it from a bird eye view, it would look like a tree. This time, me and two of my other friends heard it. We looked at each other. One of my friends looked at the other four who were still talking and said, "Do you hear that?" Our oldest friend said, "Really, you too know? Nothing there." The minute he said that, we heard a whisper say,
"Are you sure?"
in my raspy voice. It sounded like a woman who's been smoking for years and just woke up with sound. The way the voice sounded also made it impossible for someone to impersonate the voice. So we all knew it wasn't a college student. We were all frozen. We heard the same voice laugh. It wasn't a laugh that would be made from someone laughing at something funny, but it sounded sinister. Then we heard the bushes shuffle again. So we all booked it back to our dorms. I don't think any of us have ever ran so fast. Normally it would be a 5-minute walk, but we turned it into a 1-minute run. I really wish I could say this was it, but it wasn't. I always liked living off campus, but this was the one time where I really wished I lived in campus. At about 2 a.m., I had to go back to my place. So I got my stuff and started walking back. The bus was down that day, so I couldn't take it, and I had to walk 25 minutes to get to my place. The minute I left my friend's dorm, I had a bad feeling. I told myself, "It's fine. You're just being paranoid." Plus, someone had to have been playing a prank. After 5 minutes, I had a feeling that I was being followed. I looked behind me and didn't see anyone behind me. I looked behind me every 30 seconds, and each time there wasn't anything there. When there was 5 minutes left, I heard the same shuffling in the bushes, and I froze again and stared exactly where I heard it. I stood there for at least a minute. The only reason I actually started moving was because I heard the same laugh. I ran as fast as I could and made it to my apartment main office in less than a minute. There's always a cop there in front of the office, and when he saw me, he looked really concerned and asked me what happened. I didn't want to tell him, but what choice did I have? I told him that I heard some weird laughing in the bushes and it scared the shit out of me. He asked me where. When I told him, he nodded and said, "You too, huh?" I asked him what he meant, and he said that 3 other people had told him about it and no one could figure out what it was. He told me that I should start taking the bus and come back to my place earlier. I said, "Yeah, I will," and walked off. Again, I wish I could tell you this was where it ended, but it didn't. When I got back, I took a shower and got in bed and tried sleeping. When I fell asleep, I woke up and thought it was weird that I woke up from how tired I was, and when I checked the time, it said 4:36 in the morning. This was even weirder because that meant I only slept for about 45 minutes. That's when I heard that same laughing again. I laid up and looked around. When I looked straight, I saw the shadow of something. It didn't look human, but it didn't look like an animal either. It was on all 4, and what he said after scared me to the point where I stopped sleeping in my apartment and pretty much moved into my friend's dorm. He said in the same voice, "I know you're in there, my name." and I know you were up and it laughed. That entire night, I just laid down trying not to cry from fear. I didn't have to really worry about it much longer because it was a week before finals week. I had gotten accepted to another school that I wanted to go to. I don't really ever tell this story because from the people I've told, they either thought I was joking or I wasn't fully sober. I know exactly what you heard that night, and I know I wasn't hearing things. These happened around when I was 12. My family and I had traveled to Malaysia to visit relatives who lived in Sarawak. My family is known for their deep spiritual beliefs and rich traditions. Stories of spirit and supernatural encounters were common in our household. Passed down through a generation, almost everyone in my family had to tell of an encounter, be it a whisper in the night or a shadow glimpse from the corner of the eye. Me being a skeptic at that age, thought these stories were just to scare kids into behaving. One of my uncles ran a small money transfer business, exchanging foreign currency to Malaysian ringgit. His work often took him to nearby neighboring cities, like Cebu or Silanggao, and I look up to him so much that I tag along whenever he let me. One night during a family dinner, my uncle mentioned he needed to meet a business partner in Cebu the following week. He asked if I wanted to come along, and of course, I jumped at the chance. A few days later, we left for Cebu. If you've never been to Cebu, it's beautiful. Even now, I go back just to soak in the atmosphere whenever my mom and I visit Malaysia. Anywho, most of the trip passed in a blur, as it consisted of me following my uncle to different venues and eating as much local food as I could. But eventually it's time to head home. The drive back started out quiet and peaceful. It was late, and after the excitement of a trip, I was drowsy. You know those car rides where you can feel the hum of the engine and the gentle sway of the car pulling you into sleep? That is exactly what happened to me as I began resting my head on the seatbelt, as I slowly closed my eyes to a deep slumber until I woke up. There was a sound knocking, sharp, insistent knocks that jolted me awake. I was still in the car, but we were driving along a windy road on a mountainside, the dark trees closing in around us. I glanced at my uncle. His face was tense, and both hands were clenched on the wheel. Normally he'd have the radio on, humming along some tune, but now the car was dead silent. I heard the knocks again, this time from the back right window. The sound was too loud and deliberate to be pebbles or branches hitting the glass. I looked back, trying to make sense of it, but before I could fully turn, my uncle's voice cut through the air, cold and stern. "Tengok depan, look forward." I froze. He sounded different, like he was barely holding back a tremor. He told me to keep my eyes forward, to look down if I had to, but not to turn around. My stomach twisted. Confusion and fear swirled together as the knocks grew louder, moved from one window to the next. Each hit sharper and more insistent, like something was trying to get in. My hands clenched the seat, my body trembling as I felt the urge to turn around, to look, but my uncle's command echoed in my head. Then, as if on cue, the knocking escalated, pounding from every window. The sound became deafening, drowning out even the rev of the engine. My chest tightened, and tears started slipping down my cheeks as the car began speeding up, the engine roaring louder, trying to outrun whatever was out there. Then silence. In an instant, the knocking stopped. The only sound left was my uncle's shaking breath and the low rumble of the car. I don't remember much of the rest of the drive, but my uncle kept talking, forcing conversation about school or friends, anything to distract us from what had just happened. But I could see it in his eyes. Beneath his calm mask, he was just as shaking as I was. Years later, I came back to visit my hometown with my mom, and one night my uncle finally told me the full story. He explained that the main road we'd driven on was known to be haunted. He admitted that while I slept, he had seen something, a flash of black in the rearview mirror, almost like a shadow darting across the backseat. And just before I woke up, he heard it too, a whisper from somewhere behind us. Look forward. It still gives me a chill to this day that the warning never came from him. If you come for the first time, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for our upcoming scary stories. We need your support. Please share these stories with your friends and family. Thanks.